the home improvement Halloween episodes. My God, I live for those.
All right, I stopped. Oh, wait, no, it's still recording, it says.
Hey everyone.
Hey everyone.
Welcome to Why Are You Still Here?
The
Well,
elaborate spooktacular.
Yes. It took hours.
Yes, it took me a long
and
time.
Yes, I can tell. This is basically just, I don't know. You're observing right now somebody who likes Halloween too much and somebody who doesn't really care about it. Try to
not
find
that I
out
don't
which
care
one's
about
which. But I don't have anything written on the board today. If there was any episode where I don't have to write something on the board, I think it's probably this one, right? And, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Nope, not Christmas, but Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
I hope that you're having a wonderful day today.
Because you're going to be watching this on Halloween. However,
Indeed.
People tend to think about it more introspectively with the family-oriented holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like, what does it mean to you? Like getting together, the songs, the cheer, the sentimental factor, the nostalgia. Like, there's something totally different about the jolly Christmas time versus like the spooky Halloween season. So it almost sounds kind of funny. Like, what does it mean to you? But I mean, other than like the typical, BS answer that you would give about like Christmas, for example, like Halloween, I guess, is the kind of time to be a little selfish about it because everyone celebrates it totally differently, if at all, in some cases. So yeah, sure. I guess it doesn't have to be as serious, but like when I think of that statement, I guess I'll just give you an example. So what does Halloween mean to me? I'm gonna say Halloween to me means, so my birthday is in the very beginning of September, and then right after my birthday is officially when Halloween begins for most people. And I tend to go like the Tim Burton route with Halloween, in the way that once the retail stores start to put everything out, which is early September, it gets me right into the season, right into the feeling. So it starts with that color change. The stores getting everything orange and brown and getting ready for autumn. And then the leaves start to change, the weather starts to change, and it's all subtle through September, leading right into October. So it becomes chilly right at like the spooky part, right when Halloween begins. You have your list of movies that you make that you're going to watch every single year, that you don't skip a beat on. It comes time to go to the haunted hay rides and the haunted houses, which I don't think we've ever had an extended conversation on attractions during Halloween. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then we start to plan those events with your friends. And for the very few friends that I have these days, Halloween is always a time that we do make at least make it a plan to see each other at least once or twice for these festivities. Everyone starts talking about it, and then it's always like the fun young holiday that everyone talks about. It makes me feel like a kid again. I loved horror movies as a kid. October was always the excuse to rent them at a discount nonstop because there were specials. The videotapes would be on sale everywhere. Leading into the DVD era, it was fun to rebuy my favorite VHS horror movies. There's just so much that goes into horror as a whole. As a movie genre, I think that exacerbates Halloween so much. So it's the movies, it's the stores, it's the excitement, and not so much anymore. But as a kid, there was nothing like planning my Halloween costume 2 months in advance and making it like trying to make a screen accurate version of a CGI character as a 5-year-old is probably, from a parent's perspective, comedically hilarious. But for
Right.
me, it was serious business. I wanted
Yes.
my costume to be as good as it could. I didn't want that tie, stupid printed on Woody thing. I wanted a real shirt with a bandana and jeans, like the real deal. Um,
Yes.
so it was just the planning, everything. Looking forward to Halloween is just fun.
So not only is Halloween my favorite holiday, it is, you know, in a season that is my favorite season of the year, which is fall. And I mean, I could, just gush just like you did, honestly, if not longer, if I don't cut myself off. But
Exactly. That's why I had to stop.
it is everything that you mentioned. I mean, the air is cooler, which I like, and
Yep.
Lucas can back me up on the fact that I sweat more than any person ever should.
Yes. In the middle of
And
December, it looks like you went swimming. It's true.
no, not December. My
Well,
point is that in fall and winter I don't sweat, which is a lovely break. Um, and maybe
he still
fall a
sweats.
little bit, but that's only indoors. And where we work it's nothing worked properly there. No air conditioning, heating system, whatever. Except for when they crank the heat up way too high and then I am sweating, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but normal circumstances, fall, winter, whatever, I'm not sweating and I like it. You can wear just like a light jacket or no jacket. It's up to you. So all that kind of stuff is fun. But yeah, it's the general just the feeling that's in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I have Halloween going up in my head 24/7, 365. And it's nice when I can see other people doing the same thing for a month. They're decorating their yards, they're decorating their houses. It's exactly what I always do, just all year round. So there's that nice, connection there that I have with those people. As well as, like you said, haunted houses, awesome. All the stuff that's in stores, special candy or all the decorations in stores. It's the only time of year that, Spirit Halloween is open. It
Mm-hmm.
is, falls on the ground, trees changing colors. It, could be argued that it's the most gorgeous time of year, right? There's so much about it, and I just like that. I always sort of gravitated to like the spooky side of things. I like Christmas as well. It's just it's a different feeling. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Horror movies have always sort of been my thing, and this is sort of like you get to live in a, you know, in a horror movie land almost. I think
Mm-hmm.
of Nightmare Before Christmas. Like I would love to go to a theme park where it's Halloween Town. Like that
Oh
would be
yeah.
so cool. And there are some places where you can sort of do that. There's a neighborhood here, um, an hour or so away. I have yet to go there. Maybe I will this year. And it's the entire street decorates for Halloween. And I don't know, it's just cool. I was never super into actually the obtaining candy part of it. Like, of course, I did go trick or treating, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed dressing up. It's the one day a year where you get to be somebody else. Whoever you want to be, you get to be somebody else. That's a lot of fun. Especially for somebody that's kind of like abnormally theatrical like I am, right?
Yes.
So that's just, it's my cup of tea basically. Everything about Halloween is my cup of tea. And yeah, it's just a cool time of year. And again, we share the birthday connection, My birthday is on the first day of fall.
Wow, that's
When
crazy. Our birthdays really are close.
yes,
Wow. I feel
yes,
like I just celebrated mine yesterday.
yeah, indeed, indeed.
Yeah,
And it's by the time this airs, I'll have already been an old man for a month.
exactly. Crusty old man.
Because this is the official one, and I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah,
But
we're not going to talk
usually,
about it.
usually it's a good thing. This year it's not, but whatever. So usually I have that association as well. That it's just it's my time of year, kind of. I don't. It's kind of selfish sounding, but this is ultimately
I know,
what it
I
comes down
understand.
to is why we like it so much, and I love everything about it. um I feel like there's some type of Halloween activity that I am forgetting about, but ultimately, if it has to do with Halloween, I like it.
Yeah.
Cider mills, that's
Hmm.
awesome.
I'm so glad that
um
they're all opening again. And I you always got to go
yeah.
on the haunted hayride that comes with that. I we That's something we haven't talked about, Brandon. I don't think ever, like, in depth, is haunted house attractions that pop
Mm-hmm.
up during the month.
Yeah,
Are you a fan? Because
I
some
am a
people are
fan.
not.
I am a fan. I will get super nervous and complain like a little girl while standing in line. And then while I get in there, I ultimately end up having a lot of fun. But I always get those nerves that this is
Of
going to be the
course,
scariest thing I'm ever going to experience in my life, and it never is. It's always a
it's a
lot
little
of
cheesy
fun.
sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, but it's never like, oh my God, I think I'm actually gonna die. Except for one time, I don't know if you have a similar story, but I went to a haunted house with a friend of mine when I was a little bit younger. I was a teenager, and it was called the Fear Factory, and it was by
I know Fear Factory.
okay, I think it's moved. It used to be by the now defunct Universal Mall,
Okay.
and it was that was like its permanent location. Even though it wasn't open all year round, it still had that building like leased all year
Hmm.
round. And we went there, and it was scary. It was, it was big. And then you start getting towards the end, and here's something that you might not know about me. I have an irrational fear of chainsaws. I can't stand them. When I can watch a
I
movie
didn't know this.
with a chainsaw in it. Of course, I love the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I like the second one
Yeah, of
too, and
course.
I like the remake. Um, Lucas was wearing a Texas Chainsaw shirt moments
Yes, I
ago.
was.
Um, and that's fine, but it's just the idea of it being on and by me in person. I don't like it. Tell me that the chain is flipped or there's a bike chain on there or whatever as many times as you want. My mind says no,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
It doesn't like it, especially like in this story. When we're getting to the end of the haunted house, you can see the exit door, right? You're walking up to it, maybe even at a bit of a fast pace because you're
I
like,
have.
there's the exit. And
Okay.
all of a sudden, a guy dressed as Leatherface jumps out, screaming, wielding his chainsaw. And literally, me and my friend Mike, like, fell backwards and scurried up to the back of the wall. And we're just sitting there. And I can't speak for him, but I was frozen. And I'm sitting on the ground looking up at this Leatherface. And what does he do to try to get us to move? He takes a chainsaw and starts slamming it on the ground, and sparks are flying from it.
That is
And
fucking terrifying.
I'm thinking, can a chainsaw still spark when it's only a bike chain on there? I think the answer is yes. But at the time, I'm like, this is like a real chainsaw. And finally, after sitting there for what felt like an eternity, it was probably 2 minutes. I was like, let's just go. Make a run for it. And then I just got up and bolted out of there. And what he does is he chases you out of the building with
Yeah,
the
of course.
chainsaw. And I don't know what my problem is. It could be somebody I know, probably, just dressed up in a costume with a fake chainsaw, or a real chainsaw, but with a fake blade on it. And I don't like it. But have you had any similar
Yeah,
experiences?
oh God, as I said that, I almost spilled this coffee all over the place. I was laughing the whole time because I have something super duper similar. So, and then as you said it, I'm thinking like, I hope I'm not confusing attractions because I usually go every year. But this was one in particular. I was still in high school at the time, and this was like the scariest. Maybe it was the first one I ever went to that was like this, so it left a different impression on me. Maybe. Anyway, it was the Realm of Darkness one. You know that one?
Mm, I've only heard of
So
it.
so the Realm of Darkness one has two attractions next to it. I don't remember what the name of the second one is, but the main one, Realm of Darkness, um, is in like a warehouse, and like an abandoned warehouse factory that they've repurposed every year in a mostly neighboring city around here. Not the best one, but anyway, long story short, um, so so like the main goal of this one is the first 15 minutes or so is just like your standard like attraction. They do have licensed characters in there, which is one of my favorite things, is when you go into like the Crystal Lake themed room and you hear the music, and then you see like
Mm,
the big guy in the corner that's all silhouetted that's supposed to be Jason, or you have the guy it's dressed up like Michael in like a house room or something. Like, just I like seeing your characters like that. It's really cool. Anyway,
yeah.
it's just like a nice little fun walkthrough, but after about 15 minutes or so, it becomes a choose your own adventure thing, and you start interacting with like the actors, and then you get to go down different paths and solve certain puzzles. And if you make it to the end and like defeat this like wizard, you get like this
Yes.
grand prize. So we were like, we have to go to this one. And we were like little delinquents at the time, so we go there. How what is this podcast rated? What am I allowed to say?
It's not for kids,
Not for kids.
as per YouTube's restrictions. So you can say whatever you want to say.
All right. Well, I was in high school, and me and my buddies, we smoked a couple joints on the way there. So that's why I thought it was going to be so cool. So I'm in high school, I'm stoned with my stupid buddies. We get in line and we go do that one, and then the first like trip that we make, like it was, you have 3 doors and then you have to crawl through. We crawled through the wrong door, said exit, please leave. So we messed it up right away.
Oh
So we're like, oh well,
no.
that sucks. So we got back in line and went to the second attraction, which is was like a small 1-story one, but this one was where you had to sign the waiver, because they can like grab you from around the corner and shake you. Not like
Okay.
grab you and pick you up, but they're allowed to shake
Yeah.
you. Or if like you
Right.
get blood splattered on you, they're not responsible for like cleaning your clothes. It was one of those kinds of things. I don't know if you're still allowed to do this. Like, if it seems like something that would go out of style
With
at some point. But
waivers.
again, this was like, I don't know what year is this? This was well
Currently,
over. This was like in, oh God, this was a while ago. I mean, this isn't like 2000,
2007.
this is like 2009. So a long time ago we did this. And so we're standing in line, and like there's this old witch. She's just like sitting on the rocking chair, and she's like talking to everybody, and she's just talking shit to everyone about the way they look, how they look like pussies. They're not going to be able to go through this thing. And like you interact with her, and it was very funny in the beginning. And then like there's like a chain link fence and full of leaves, and then this guy, you just see his fingers, he crawls up it, and then he pops his head out the top and then crawls down and like crawls up on the floor and like comes up to you, and he's like blah, 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 like doing weird shit on the ground. And then he's like get away from him, boy. Like it's like it's the dog like coming to lick you. It was really creepy. And
Yeah.
mind you, I'm stoned, and I'm like, dude, I don't like this, man. So we go
No.
in there. So we walk in, and then the second you walk in, the door slams shut, and then you just hear like the crowd in front of you start screaming, and then someone knocks on the door and then like opens it and like tells you it's fine and like slams it shut. So there's somebody already waiting to scare the living shit out of you. So we're going through it. It's one of those, and it's like you would go around the corner and somebody would like fall over as like a corpse and have like the fake blood pour out of their mouth, and it was genuinely disgusting. The makeup was on point, and the way they could interact with you and talk to you, and like you sign that waiver, like they can swear at you, they can grab you, they split you up from the group, and they won't let you go unless you split up. Like it's genuinely scary. So we go through, we get to the end, and the guy dressed up as Leatherface comes around with the fucking chainsaw, and then what he does is he chases you out the door through the woods, and that's the exit of that attraction.
Wow.
And it was one of the scariest experiences ever. So yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that haunted house. That's like, it's been rated many years in a row the scariest haunted house in Michigan.
It was really, 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 really good.
I always wonder, what is the wizard? How do you defeat the wizard?
I don't know, but all I know is that, and then see, like, this is like before, the whole internet era, right? So who are you going to talk to? This was the other, oh my God. So these, I don't even know if these are a thing anymore, but when you go to 7-Eleven, Spencer's, Spirit, they have the flyer of the local haunted house attractions. They're in your local newspapers, local magazines and stuff. And then you would look at it with your friends. You would circle the ones it's like the Wish catalog, from Toys R Us, but for us.
Yeah.
That was always cool. Well, I'm glad that still exists then, because you found out through word of mouth what was good and what was bad. One of the ones I always wanted to go to and we never did was when the zombie craze, like before The Walking Dead, but during its like rise in popularity in like the late 2000s. Do you remember all the ones that were like oriented around like the disease that got out, and there's like biohazardous zombie waste that'll infect you, go through the haunted house? And there were so many zombie oriented ones for like a long time. I remember there being like I could be completely wrong on this, but some kind of like paintball horror haunted house where you got to like shoot the things. And it was like way up in like a more countryish part of the state, but there was a lot of cool different stuff. Yeah. So I know that we never had like an extended conversation about that. And
no.
I just remember, the one time that line lid almost fell on you and collapsed and you cowered in the corner. I didn't know whether you liked haunted houses. And I was going to preface this conversation with being like, hey, Brandon, would you be really shocked if I told you that like I don't like haunted houses and I can't go through them? And you'd be like, oh, I'm genuinely shocked. I'd be like, yeah, because I love them. I was just going to like throw you for a loop. But when you told me that story, I was like, I have a very similar one. But it was one of the only times I went to a haunted house that had that like specific, like the waiver format, because those are not very common. So no. When I saw that, I had to sign up for it. I guess maybe that's like the equivalent of like those like panic rooms or whatever, like where you get locked in and you got to figure out how to get out.
Escape room?
Yeah, whatever. Panic room. Which I've never tried that before. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to tell you my haunt, because I have a huge soft spot for them, because that comes with the Halloween territory. So, and it becomes an interactive horror movie. And as far as horror movies are concerned, I mean, I would say, that's when cable was how you watched your movies back then, or Blockbuster and Family Video, if you're running movies in our case. But the Sci-Fi Channel, all of October, always had great horror movies. Brandon, I guess, doesn't have remembrance of this, but I do. I remember seeing The Exorcist, Children of the Corn, Child's Play, Leprechaun. A lot of the franchise stuff was on Sci-Fi. That's how I saw a lot of that stuff. When I was like 6, 7, 8, that age. So, horror movies, AMC did their 30 days of Fright Fest. It's maybe not called that exactly, but it's something super duper close.
It's called Fear Fest. They still do it.
okay, and then if I remember correctly, it was October. It was 24-hour block of like banger horror movies, like genuinely decent ones, or maybe it was like the later half of the day. But I remember it being like all day.
I think it's all day.
Maybe not anymore because
At
streaming services are
some
on demand.
point, at some point towards the month, I don't think it's the whole 31 days. I could be wrong. ABC Family has its own thing too. Obviously, that's not like
Horror stuff,
like
but they do Hocus
R-rated
Pocus and Nightmare
movies,
Before
but
Christmas and what
exactly.
have you.
So things like that. But yeah, AMC Fear Fest, my issue with them is every time they play the Halloween movies, they'll play the first one,
Mm-hmm.
they'll occasionally play the second one, they'll play the fourth one and the fifth one, and then they'll start over.
Yeah,
And
they
I'm
don't.
like,
They.
what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
And they'll
Like
show H2O maybe twice if you're
if
lucky.
that, there was a couple years there where they didn't even show it a single time
Mm-hmm.
within the entire year. And it was just, I don't know, it's weird. I guess there's some type of licensing thing there must be. Like you
Mm-hmm.
won't see 2 and 3 a lot of the time because it's owned by Universal and it's a different company than a lot of the other ones. And then H2O, well, 6 H2O and Resurrection, that's a different company
Yeah,
as well. That's Dimension. So there's a lot of, it's same thing with Rob
they do the
Zombie's
same thing.
Halloween
Yeah.
movies. It's also
I
Dimension.
don't know if those have been on TV at all, and if they would, I mean, that's got to be almost like a different version. I mean,
They have, and they'll play them later at night. There's this weird thing that shows can do. I don't know when it started, but I first started noticing it with the show American Horror Story. And if it's like something's on at like 10 o'clock or later, they can swear in it. They can say
yeah, I know
anything
about
they
that.
want, like anything they
I
want.
remember watching the South Park movie
Yes,
Bigger, Longer, and Uncut on
yes.
cable. Shut your fucking
That
face, Uncle Fucka. And
that was
I'm
my
like
first
10 years
experience
old,
with it.
and I'm like,
Yeah. Yep.
whoa, this is on TV.
And my mind was blown. I'm like, how can this be on just regular cable? So yeah, so that is always,
Uh-huh.
it's so funny you say that. Every time they swear on American Horror Story, like a really, I don't want to get into it.
Me either.
But
I shouldn't have done that, but I had
no,
to
you're
because
fine. You're
as a
fine.
kid, that was just very
No,
shocking.
yeah, it's iconic. But anytime they say anything that's like not usually allowed on TV, I always think back to the South Park movie when that played on Comedy Central.
I'm glad
Um,
that we have that experience then. Because
yes,
remember when they would show Girls Gone Wild? I mean, it would be censored, but they would do
commercials
that.
for it. Yeah.
No, they would have 30
Oh
hours of it.
no.
But I mean, they would just be censored. It would be the whole 30-minute block of Mardi Gras, but it'd be censored.
Oh yeah.
And
No,
this
I
was like when they would
didn't have
do
that
like
experience.
the Insomniac was that with David Tell and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All that weird shit on Comedy Central at that time. I mean, guys, we're old men, okay? So people don't know, a lot of people might not know what we're even talking about right now. But
It's
yes.
possible. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, though. Yeah, all around that same time. I remember the Girls Gone Wild commercials.
Mm-hmm.
They were
With
commercials
like
that
the
were
marimba music
selling.
playing, selling the videotapes.
Yeah, they were selling the tapes, and they were like 15-minute long commercials, but they were still commercials. That I remember that. I
Yeah,
don't
there was the
remember them actually
infomercials, and then
playing the
sometimes they would,
things.
yeah, because it's just
Um,
flashing. It
so
wasn't
it's
like
like you could
actual porn.
only really get your hands on those usually by buying them, and that was it. And that company is now defunct, and
Of
people have
course,
sued, and it's a whole thing because there was a whole bunch of girls that were
they were drunk
underage
and
in
underage.
it,
Yep.
and you're taking
Oh, one.
advantage of people, and there's
Oh yeah.
consent, and it's so bad. It's literally, it's that shows you right there more than anything else how we grew up in a different time than today, that was even
Mm-hmm.
allowed for a second. let alone years. I mean, come on, that has lawsuit written all over it. But yeah, I have to say something else, and this is I couldn't really think of a way to fit it in at the beginning, but there is a history to Halloween as well. I don't know if a lot of people know this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm going to butcher the origin, but I'll tell you how I've heard it. And it used to, it's a pagan holiday, right? And it also goes by the name Samhain. They mispronounce it in Halloween too. They call it Samhain.
Samhain. It means the Lord of the Dead.
I was really hoping you were going to say it, and if you didn't, I was going to.
Yes. Oh, how could you not? It's written. I should have written that up on the chalkboard. That's what I should have written on the chalkboard.
After we just talked about, okay, because side note, everybody, as we wear our Halloween shirts, are you wearing the original movie as well? Is that?
Yes.
Okay, so am I. But
strangled.
As Brandon and I have stated, we have to say that the first is our favorite because you have to.
It's where it all began.
Halloween 2 is my personal favorite. So if he had written Samhain on the board, that would have just been awesome.
Yeah. I don't know why I didn't.
It's fine.
That would have been so good. You know, this is a story of my life, coming up with comebacks.
Hindsight is 2020.
After somebody insults you,
like 20 years later.
Exactly. Hindsight's 2020, and that's why comebacks in movies are so good, because a person gets to write it out right there.
Mm-hmm. You guys didn't know this, but actors read the scripts first most of the time.
That's some good knowledge right there. That's some good trivia. So yeah. It's hard to circle back now after all of that, but Samhain, and it's looked at as the one day a year where the veil between the living and the dead, the veil meaning like, the barrier, right? You're a Harry Potter fan. You don't
I
need
was
that
just
explained.
about to mention, I hope you're making an Order of the Phoenix reference.
Of course. So it's like, I always sort of look at it in my mind as like, I guess kind of like spider web almost. It's like that, barrier, right? And usually the barrier is solid, but supposedly on Halloween, it becomes, it's most fluid. I sound like such an idiot, but it becomes the most fluid.
I don't know all this stuff, so I'm learning as we go.
Okay, good. So you can pass through. That's the idea behind it. The dead can pass through the veil and come to the land of the living for 24 hours. And what a lot of people would do, jack-o'-lanterns first started originating because where there is good spirits, there's also bad spirits.
Yeah.
And people would set up jack-o'-lanterns on their porch and let it burn all night to sort of ward off all the bad spirits. So their house wasn't, attacked by bad spirits or demons or you name it. So that's sort of where that whole, thing came from, for lack of a better word, that custom, I guess, sort of came from that. So whether or not any of that is true, obviously, if you're watching this now, you probably saw our ghost episode a few weeks back, but so Lucas and I have, sort of conflicting ideas when it comes to ghosts. That being said, even though I believe in ghosts, I don't know if I believe necessarily that for 24 hours, the veil between the living and the dead becomes
and that a jack-o'-lantern carved from a giant root vegetable is going to ward them off, as if something that has the sentience and the ability to fly around doesn't know that you carved a pumpkin.
That part of it was just that's just how it was. That's just
Oh,
history.
I get it. I know. I'm just
People
being,
would do it because of that.
Smart ass.
Whether or not demons look at a jack-o'-lantern and say, "Oh no," and run away. I'm not the I'm
the
not
authority on
the authority on
jack-o'-lanterns.
such matters, but yeah, I think it's a cool story though. Whether or not I believe it's true, it could be. Sure, why not? I believe in ghosts, so maybe it's true. I just think it's just really, I don't know. It's just one of those things that I just really like. I wish I could say my thoughts in a more organized manner, but I don't know. I guess I conveyed my point though. I just really like that story.
It adds to
I think
to
it's
the
cool.
mythos of everything.
It does. It adds to it. And the sort of like dressing up as well sort of plays into it. And
I think that's what we
yeah.
should talk about next then is costumes and stuff. Because this is going to be a
For
very
sure.
long episode as it stands. And to be fair, we found out that 45 minutes is our sweet spot. This episode is going to be like, I'm assuming more than 45 minutes, and it's going to be all in one go, and it's the uploaded Halloween special. So I guess that might
Correct.
be negated. But we're going to have to talk about Halloween costumes because we did cover a lot of the other avenues. So let's transition from, we talk about movies, haunted houses, the origins of Halloween, that spooky time of the year leading into it. So let's talk about the preparation of costumes that goes into it, because as I stated earlier, you did too, that was one of our favorite things. Yes, Brandon, I might make fun of him at work for being theatrical, but the reason why I give Brandon shit about a lot of things is because I'm the same way. So it's a funny gag that we have going on here. At least it's Brandon in his head. He's like, dude, it's not funny. It's getting annoying. Drop it. So Halloween costumes.
You almost made me spit all over my computer.
Oh God. Here, now's your revenge chance. You ready? You blew it. Anyway,
I know. I couldn't think of anything that quick.
So Halloween costumes. The first things that I like that. Very Halloween.
I made it years ago, but I made it.
Did you really?
I was going for the poster of Halloween too.
Yeah. You actually made that.
Not the pumpkin part, technically.
Okay.
I got a pumpkin from Michael's, and I cut out the front of it, and I bought a skull from them as well. So actually, I didn't make that either. But I put it together with paper mache and painted it.
You could sell that on eBay or Etsy or something. I mean,
I just had it sitting in my basement for several years.
I like that a lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it sort of like has started to like decay and deteriorate over the years, and it just kind of adds to it in a strange way.
See that? Badass. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
at the time,
yeah.
My mom doubted me. She said that paper mache wouldn't work, and I said, I think it will.
Wow. So you saw it here, folks. That was my genuine being impressed by Brandon's skull there. Take that audio bit out of context.
I don't even know how you would, but
I don't know either.
I think that
but
absolutely
it could be done. So Halloween costumes. The first things I could remember, being like a pumpkin as like a little kid, like your parents dress you up, but you have no fucking idea what's going on.
Yeah.
But something like that, or you get like a black cat. As I got older. And when I mean older, I mean like 4 and 5. This is the 90s. Woody. I was Woody for like 4 years in a row, like up until when Toy Story 2 came out. So for years, as you saw in our 90s nostalgia, there's a picture of me in the 90s in Disney World with a Woody doll promotionally from Toy Story 2. That was my jam for years. So I would, we started off with like, you go to Kroger and you'd buy like the little kid's costume that's like this big with like a little tie in the back. So you start off with that. And then eventually I would wear like jeans and like a yellow shirt and like a scarf, and you buy the hat and you try to do it the proper way. But my point is that whole month, like September through October, almost 2 months really, then at that point, I'm planning it out. I'm trying to make it look as good as it can. I want to impress about everybody when I'm trick-or-treating, as if the adults think it's cool rather than cute, which it's not, So it's fun. It's fun from a kid's perspective to be that character that you idolize, the comedy of trying to make a CGI character look perfect, but not even just the comedy of it or the cute factor. It was just fun. And genuinely today, if I tried to make a Harry Potter cosplay, for example, I have the glasses, I could make it pretty baller with my budget nowadays and my attention to detail and everything. And you know what? I just thought of how fun that would be even as an adult. So as a kid, it was amazing. So then I was Harry Potter for like 4 years in a row. And then, when because right as I stopped being Woody, that's when Harry Potter came out. It was always a character thing. But then I was Harry Potter for a few years. And then I was the Mask. I was Austin Powers. I was Freddy. I was Michael. I don't think I was ever Jason. I had a Jason mask, but I never like did the whole Jason costume, the Crystal Lake thing. But it was Michael Myers for a few years. I do remember my last Halloween costume that I ever trick-or-treated in. I did buy a Rob Zombie's Halloween mask. I didn't mess it up for the movie that had come out, but I was in high school when Halloween 2 came out, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And I got like that weird coverall, I got the coveralls for it, but then I had like the jacket that went over his coveralls. I kind of got that hobo look for the Michael Myers thing. And I wanted to like rip the mask, but it was the mask from Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. But I didn't want to ruin it and make it bloody like it was in 2. So then I bought a cheap Michael Myers mask and fucked it up with like fake blood, and it did look pretty cool. I wish I still had it, like you have your paper mache thing there. Apparently you're more sentimental with your knicknacks. I tend to just throw them away, I guess. I wish I still had them.
I don't throw anything away.
I know it's a me problem. Wow. See, we have the opposite problem because it is a problem. So yeah. I remember it was a horrible costume, but I remember going when I was in high school at the time, and I was getting called out by all the adults when we were trick-or-treating to the point where I almost felt bad. But yeah, that was
called out because you were older.
Yeah, I was like 16 or something trick-or-treating.
Okay. I was going to ask you, what was the last year that you went trick-or-treating? Was that it?
2009, 2010, I want to say. I don't remember exactly, but it was around Halloween 2, so it was that time.
But was that when you dressed up as Hobo Myers? That was the last time? Okay.
That was my very last time, I remember.
I would assume it would be 2009 since that's when the movie came out.
And then I remember I was with my stupid stoner friends. We fucking smoked and went out. And I remember wearing it for the last half of the night. I put on like a Rasta hat. I was Rasta Michael Myers too. Yeah, it's all coming back to me now.
Okay. So
yeah,
you would have been, oh my God, I can't do
15
math.
Or 16.
I mean, it sounds to me like 15 is what you would have been.
Something like that.
Yeah. Because that was the same year I went trick-or-treating for the last time too, was in 2009.
Wow, cool. We had that connection, guys. We found that out on camera.
But I was 17 instead of 15. But that's why I asked, because it was like, I can't do this again. I want to keep doing it, but I can't keep doing it, unfortunately. Because people will say little things to you. They'll go, here's candy for you and you, and they'll be like, well, here's one for you because
nice
you're a big kid, or or here's one for you because you're older, or here's none for you, but I like your costume. Like they'll say little
that's what I got that a lot. I got that one And then one of our friends was paranoid the whole time. He's like, guys, I feel really bad about this. And I'm like, it's Halloween, guys.
I don't think anybody should feel bad. I think if
it.
you're 37 years old and you want to go trick-or-treating, go trick-or-treating. I don't care. As somebody who now is on the other side of it, that hands out the candy, which I look forward to. Not nearly as much as the trick-or-treating itself, but I still look forward to it. And I don't care how old you are. It doesn't matter to me. I've never called anybody out for before. I look at this person who is my same age and I think, I wish I had your balls. I wish I had your courage to go and do this. I remember in 2010, I dressed up like Michael Jackson. I did not trick or treat, but I ran around the streets by my dad's house.
I would pay to see this.
I do have a picture of me dressed as Michael Jackson.
You got to send it to me. That's awesome.
Not that specific night, unfortunately, but I was getting prepared for it because that was going to be my costume. And yeah, so it was I don't know, it was a lot of fun, but I was talking to people as Michael Jackson and stuff. They're like, why would you do that? No,
no, I'm not gonna give you any more candy. You should be happy that you got this candy. Oh.
Yeah, leave me alone. I'll trick or treat if I want to. Get out, girl. I'll get it. Don't you tell me that. How dare you, Macaulay? Don't you call me out like that again in front of everybody. Bubbles, where's funny. Bubbles at?
You did not say that. Did you have like a little chimp in
the I did not. I that would have been cool though. No, I was just talking.
That's to awesome.
And they were like, "Oh, stay away from my children."
Oh,
and
God.
I'm Michael Jackson. I love children. So and they're like, "Yeah, stay away."
That's funny.
Yeah, but oh my God, I can't remember what some of the earlier ones were. My first memory, and I think this just comes from a picture that I have. There was when I was really young, I was probably like 2 years old, and my mom dressed me up like a hobo. And when I asked her, still to this day, why a hobo, she was like, well, we didn't have any money. So
wow, like the talk so about like
appropriate,
like the perfect double entendre,
yeah,
right? I mean,
so I had like fake dirt on my face, and my clothes were made out of like rags. So that was funny. Then there was like some of the other stuff, like you mentioned pumpkins or jack-o'-lanterns or whatever. I mean, there was like I was like a clown and a ninja. But when it started to get really good, you know, of course, it became licensed characters. You know, that's when you know you hit the sweet spot.
Yeah, and you moved on up in the proverbial Halloween world.
Exactly. May as well just call me George Jefferson. But this is not going to be in order, but you know, I went as GhostFace 4,700 times, which that math doesn't even work out.
So yeah, that was the thing about the 90s, the late 90s, early 2000s. It was GhostFace central. I remember getting legitimately sick of it for a few years because that's all as I was Woody in Harry Potter for years and years and years. But that's something that I think we should mention is like recurring costumes like that. And I think even like I went to a Catholic school and a public school, a mix of both in my childhood. And in elementary school, you didn't know that? So Jen that we work with, who is never going to watch this and calls Brandon bad boyfriend. Said we actually went to the same school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I lived in one of the neighboring cities that is now a dilapidated ghetto, and Pat actually used to live in that city, so we have that little connection on the east side from over there. Anyway, yeah, so I went to the Catholic school for like 5 years, And we always had the Halloween. We had the Halloween parades, and they would let you be horror characters, but it was the same rules as a public school. You can't wear a mask, and you can't have like the prop knife or gun with you. That wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
Even in the 90s, like this is post Columbine too, so they really wouldn't let you do anything.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do remember being able to do that, and the Catholic school I remember was always really cool with us being able to do that stuff. So I will give them props there. But I mean, like, if you couldn't be anything demonic though, like there was a line, like anything pertaining to religion and like that's blasphemous, they took that seriously.
I'm sure really, they did.
Yeah, because it was a Catholics are very by the book, and only the Catholics, only licensed priests, for a lack of a better word, can perform exorcisms. It's not an everyday thing. An exorcism has to get approved through the Vatican. It's like a really big thing in that Catholic culture.
Yeah.
Me being a Roman Catholic Italian boy at the time, so yeah, even in the public school, they were cool about it too. I remember me and my friend were both Freddy that year. I had the cooler costume, and we both got to wear the glove. I had the they let us wear that. I was shocked. Yeah. But I had like the deluxe plastic one that was worth like $60, and you remember they had like the cheap one that you could get at Kroger for like 15. That was just like trash, like,
which was still licensed for some reason.
Yeah. So, and you know exactly which ones I'm talking about, but I mean,
yeah.
And I had like an actual sweater that I got at Hot Topic that was licensed from Ruby's at the time, which was so cool to be able to physically buy that at the store. Hot Topic was really cool with selling high quality costume wear in the mid 2000s. Not anymore. They're trash. But yeah, the costumes was just a lot of fun. And even going into high school, like that's when I was, middle school and high school was the horror icon era for me. That's when I was Freddy, Michael, for multiple years in a row. You tend to perfect that costume. I remember I'm a short guy as it is now. So you could imagine in middle school, I was even shorter, believe it or not. Even in high school, I was shorter than this at some point. And stop laughing. And even finding coveralls, it's not a disability, Brandon, okay? Finding coveralls was not happening. And it sucked. For every Michael Myers costume I had, you tried to get like the Dickies or the Carhartt one, and it just was not gonna fit me. And I just remember never having the best costume. The mask would always be a little too big down here.
Of course.
And it just, as an adult now, yeah, I'm a short Michael Myers, but at least I can find coveralls that'll fit me properly. And at least the mask will come to here, albeit a little bit oversized.
What's interesting is, don't mean to cut you off, but there is one thing I have to interject that I am jealous of kids today, and that is
how good their costumes
you have
are.
Companies like Trick or Treat Studios, which, as we know, I'm not the biggest fan of, but
yes,
they make like legit coveralls for kids. They make smaller masks for kids. So
I saw those
like,
when I was at the Halloween store yesterday. I didn't send you pictures of all of it because I didn't know if you would care or not. But now that we talk about it, I should have taken pictures. But they had the deluxe children's coveralls. They had the ones from Halloween 1, Halloween 2, the remakes, like movie specific versions of deluxe, and they were only like $5 less than the adult size. So what shows you is that you're paying for a quality thing, but you're paying less because you're getting less fabric. I saw that yesterday and I was disgusted at what we had to wear compared to that, because my coveralls were a solid sheet that tied in the back with 2 little lapels glued on or stitched onto the front with some, the piece stitched to the front that covers no zipper.
Yes, and that was good even compared to what they dealt with in the 70s and 80s.
When kids would just wear like a same colored shirt and pants, and that was, and they had like a string that tied it to the back, and that was what you were gonna get. If you look at some Mickey Mouse licensed Halloween costumes from the 60s, Oh God. It looks like you're wearing a garbage
Anything,
bag on your head.
anything from the 60s.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like we had it good. These kids don't know what,
Right. And this is what it is today. And one that makes me really jealous is Fun World has a kid's GhostFace costume coming out this year it's a deluxe costume, just like the adult one that they're releasing this year as well, which is actually made out of the real sparkle fabric. If you are a Scream fan, you know what I'm talking about, because I did not have that for the times that I dressed up as Ghostface. I had, the cheap, fabric that I don't think it ever ripped, but it could rip at any time. It was so thin. And my first year of dressing up as Ghostface, it was just like a random robe that we picked up from like Walmart or something. Like it wasn't even meant for that. It was meant for like a Grim Reaper or something. But before I forget, there was something else Lucas and I have in common. We were both Austin Powers. Like he mentioned, he was Austin Powers one year. And then after that, it kind of just spiraled into I was Elvis at school one time. That was fun. I don't know. My dad's always been a really big Elvis fan, and we went and visited Graceland in Tennessee.
Wow.
And so I was
that.
kind of like, I don't know, I was kind of like in an Elvis-y kind of mood. And even though I didn't dress up as Elvis to go trick-or-treating that year, I dressed up in school, and it was a big hit. I have a picture of it, actually, which will be right here. Look at that handsome son of a bitch.
What a hunk of burning love.
Anyway,
burning love. Thank you very much.
Anyway, yeah, so after that though, I just got big into slashers, and then it became, Michael Myers, which again, not a good costume, not a good mask.
So in terms of your Ghostface, I have to ask, do you remember, and you have to remember the stages of Ghostface, because it evolved over the years. Because when I say this, you're gonna say, "Oh, I totally yes." That's gonna be you. It's my Brandon impression again, guys.
I also sign off on that one.
Oh, good. That's you as well. Yes, indeed. So I spent too much time with this guy now. Anyway, so it started off with just your traditional Ghostface mask that you could, they had like the license.
I know where you're going with this,
and then the one, I am glad. And then the one that looked a little bit less good, and you get that one at Kroger, but it was passable. But it just had, it wasn't molded as good. It was shaped slightly differently. It looked more like the Scream picture than Ghostface. And then the next year we had green ones that glowed in the dark. And the next year we have ones that are plastic with the blood pump heart that just ran the blood through the face. And so I wasn't Ghostface this year, but my brother was, and he wanted that one. So he gets the blood mask. And I was probably Woody again. It was like 99. Toy Story 2 was huge. Brandon, side note, the more we do these episodes, I feel really old. When I looked at that picture and sent that to you from the 90s, and I had like the New Balance and the socks up to my ankles and the jean shorts and the wife beater, that really shows its age. And anyway, so we're at my old house, which is now a dilapidated ghetto. And I'm like, hey, I'm telling my brother, I'm like, you want to see something really cool? I put the mask on the floor and I stomp on the heart, and it just explodes. The nozzle comes off, and I stained some white carpet in the hallway, and my mom like beat my ass.
Yeah, I don't know why you would step on it like that.
I was a kid. I thought like it's gonna be real bloody and cool. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, but sure. I get it.
That just was my culmination story of, you saw GhostFace so much every year that and there wasn't glow in the dark Michael masks. There were Jason masks, but they're not glow in the dark Jason or Michael Myers masks like that. They're not bloody Michael masks or Freddy masks or all these variations. It just GhostFace in the and as it was just its own thing. And I hope there's a forum that just compiles this thought. Because I don't remember seeing a recurring character that much.
I don't know if you know, but Fun World, which is the company that owns GhostFace, that they had that since the early 90s. Like Scream did not come up with that look. Wes Craven was scouting for locations for the original Scream, and in the house they were going to film in one of the bedrooms, one of the kids' bedrooms, they saw this mask sitting on one of the bedposts of the bed.
That is genuinely terrifying when you're trying to create. Well, when you know Scream and
and in the script it just said ghost face or a face like a ghost and that kind of thing. There was never any drawings or description or anything like that. And as soon as they saw it, they're like, that's it.
Well, it plays up with the wonderful, creepy, generic factor of the story of Scream anyway. Yeah. So I love that story.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think
so. Maybe that's why Ghostface is a lot more prevalent than why I had thought so.
Well,
so I guess that makes sense then.
It was around prior to Scream, but it blew up with Scream. So there's many different molds of the mask. The Gen 1 mold.
Every Ghostface mask smells of very Chinese cheap latex. Ghostface masks have a strange smell in particular to me compared to other ones.
They have the smell of vanilla. They have the smell of vanilla.
Yes, that's what it is.
That's what was put into it specifically. If they were real legit masks from Fun World, they smelled like vanilla. They don't anymore.
You're rocking my world, man.
Unfortunately, no. They might this year again because they're going back to the old style.
Well, I'm gonna go back to the Halloween store in a couple weeks, and I'm gonna do a deep dive.
Sounds good. But they've been making them cheaper out of different material for the last few years. Only the last since 2012, I think. So now they're cheap and they're just nasty. They're called the ultra whites, and they are made in China. They look like it.
You wear them one night when you're drunk with your friends, and that's all anymore. It is.
Exactly. They would specifically put the smell of vanilla in with the older ones, so they smelled nice when you wore them. Because it's not latex, it's vinyl, so it was, it just really, it had no smell otherwise. So they would put that in for people, and still to this day, if you have some of those old masks, they still have that vanilla smell. But so that was like 1990. And then there was a whole battle, and they weren't allowed to use that mask. Like Fun World did not let Scream use that mask, so they created their own mask, and it was made by a K&B effects company, and they got it as close as they possibly could without it being the actual mask. And you can see that in a couple scenes in the original Scream. Most notably when Casey Becker at the very beginning, Drew Barrymore's character, gets killed. He's wearing that K&B mask, and then later on, Principal Hembry, right before he gets killed, he sort of puts it on in his office, and it's a K&B mask as well. But ultimately, they were able to get the rights to that mask, and then they switched it while filming to that mask. And then for Scream 2, 3, 4, and 5 at the beginning of next year, it's all been it's licensed. So what they would do, it's a very standard looking mask. There are differences with it, but ultimately it's the same shape. And I think that that's probably why they wanted to change it up and stuff, and do green ones and orange ones and blue ones. And all of that kind of stuff. And they've been doing that since before Scream was a thing. So you can find original Gen 1, you know, fluorescent green ones and fluorescent pink and fluorescent
Honestly,
orange.
Because
So,
you know, I was a kid in the 90s, guys. I wasn't 37 in 1998 like you guys might think. So I just always associate Ghostface with Scream because of the impact that it had at the time.
And most people do. It's one of those things where I know it
because
more
you're
so
such
just
a nerd.
because and not just a nerd for the movie, but a nerd for the mask as well. So I mean, I have a whole Ghostface mask collection. I keep it in a bin in a secret location that nobody can get to. Yeah, so it was cool. What changed it all was Scary Movie, and then it was still from Fun World, but they had the smiling mask and the stoned mask and the what's up,
Everyone's favorite,
mask, right? So that sort of changed it up a little bit. I was never a big fan of the bleeding mask with the pump. I never had.
It was
one
a lot
of those.
chunkier. It looked different.
It had
was,
that plastic.
The part of the
thing
cowl was a lot
it.
different. Yeah, it was a very
It was like it was the blood ran over the mask under plastic, and the world must feel the same way because vintage Ghostface masks go for lots of money, but that one doesn't matter what year it came out, how old it is, nobody wants it. So but I remember when it came out, I think it was because of Scream 3. You know, there's you know, just a slight moment of blood being sprayed up in the face at the very beginning. So that just, I think that's where they got it from. But just rounding this off, I, you know, continued on with Michael Myers. I was Jason for a year. I was Leatherface 1 year as well. That was a fun one. No chainsaw. And
yeah, that was one Jason I never did because I didn't like Jason enough, but I had a huge soft spot for the original Texas Chainsaw. I had seen it around Halloween time in 2007, and I remember I was gonna go all out with it because I love the Jessica Biel remake. I love the original version. One of my other buddies, like my absolute closest friend in real life, his favorite is Texas Chainsaw and Michael Myers and stuff. So like so I was Michael that year, and then he decided to be Leatherface. So we ended up choosing sides.
Very, very nice.
And I really wanted to get that one too. So it seems that we do have some overlap here at least. But I mean, the icons are the icons. Were you Freddy at one point?
I was not. Not, and I think it's just because it sounds so superficial and weird, but I was still very aware of the fact that I was not ever thin enough to pull that off. You know, Freddy is a very you know, thin, sort of, you know, lanky, shorter kind of guy, which Robert Englund is. And and somebody might say, well, Michael Myers is really thin too. I will agree with you for the most part, but then I will throw George P. Wilbur in your face, which he played him in Halloween 6, and he was very chunky.
A big guy.
Yes, he has a gut, so much so that they fired him and hired somebody else for reshoots of the movie. So I think that's the only time Michael Myers has been a bit chunky, but I'm like, hey, it's canon, right? So it's fine. With coveralls, you can kind of hide a little bit of it as well. You're not hiding anything with a skin tight sweater and pants, you know, normal pants and stuff. So, you know, that was always something that I just felt like I could not pull off. Plus,
well, you know, I think
Freddy masks were, you know,
my Freddy
just
mask
as bad as everything else at the time.
They're finally getting better, but they're still trash.
Yeah,
they're the worst of the bunch.
Yeah.
That's something where you got to go like face prosthetics and just find something that
there is another way. There is another way, and that is it costs some money, not as much as prosthetics would, but getting a silicone mask. So there is a company, it's the whole head, but a company called Dark Ride Studios actually does some amazing work with silicone. And it's literally, it forms to your face. It goes over your head, forms to your face. I'll send you a video later on when we're finished with this, because it's my favorite video. It's part 2, Freddy, hooked nose, sunken in eyes, and this guy is just nailing
Does he got the contacts? He got the yellow eyes?
I can't remember the yellowish, reddish eyes. I can't remember, but he's got everything else down.
If you want to get a costume like this, there's certain things you're gonna need to get.
It's amazing.
Now you have me interested.
So really, it's just your eyeballs, your mouth, and your nose holes. That's the only thing that's exposed. So you can talk in it and move it. It emotes with your face, and it generally looks really, really great. Makes you look like Robert Englund too. So
you know what?
Like I could be a
damn good Freddy. You know what? Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to cost a pretty penny to get one of those masks, but yeah. Like,
well, I just have like
$600 to $1,000.
That's a lot, man. Because I was just thinking about like crawling out of the bushes when kids were trick or treating, like with the contacts as like Nightmare 2.
How much were you thinking that a silicone mask was going to go for?
300. I was gonna.
Oh Jesus, 300 would be like on the lower end of an independent Michael Myers mask made out of latex. Silicone is a much more difficult process. It's hard to paint. On top of the fact that it's hard to pull it out of the mold when you do, make it initially. So it's hard, just a hard material. It's a hard material to work with, just in general. So you are basically paying for how difficult of a material it is to work with.
You're paying for the art that has to go behind it.
Well, you have to pay for that too. You have to pay for
it's a parts and labor
time
process,
and energy, and the material. Silicone is an expensive material. It is, like I said, difficult to work with, and you're paying for some guy's time, energy, and expertise that he put into it as well. So that would be like generous, like 600 to 1,000. They'd probably go up to 1,500, but I would say that wouldn't always be the case.
All right, guys. Well, tune in 5 years from now. We might have it. Yeah.
Literally, the only thing about silicone you have to worry about is that it might droop. It might droop over time, and if a rip starts in silicone, it will destroy the entire mask, because silicone, it can start with just a tiny rip. And there's really no way to stop it, unfortunately. But they're hard to rip. Like, if you took care of it, you would have it for 20, 30 years.
Well,
but you'd have to take care of it and powder it.
Yeah,
and put it on
I wish that things like that were accessible, cheaper, and easier. I would love to look just like my favorite horror icons and be gross and grimy, but we're gonna have to come up with one last closing statement. I gotta get out of here. So what have we culminated into? I think we've covered most of our areas that excite us about Halloween.
I believe so. It's just a great holiday. And I don't think that there is really much else to say about it. It's just a lot of fun. It's one of those few holidays. You know what? I will end it by quoting my dad. And my dad always says, Halloween is a lot of fun because it's not about the consumerism that Christmas is or other holidays. A lot of holidays, it's all about what you're buying, what you're buying for other people. It's marketing towards you to spend money. Halloween's not like that. It's a fun holiday that is in many ways anti-consumerism.
You're spending money on yourself to have a cool costume.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe spending money at the dollar store on candy, but other than that, like it's not focused on getting you to spend money for somebody else to keep this gift giving circle going.
Sure.
It's a me thing. I'm doing it because I want to be someone else today, because I don't feel like screw being Lucas today. He's an idiot.
And the people you're buying
time to be a murderer.
Candy for, like the kids in the neighborhood, they're actually working for it. They're walking around, they're actually, they're participating in this awesome holiday. So,
and plus I think to close that out too is we were them at one point, laughing with our friends, having fun, building memories that they're going to talk about in 20 years from now. So, it's cool to be 100% part of that cycle.
Yes. And that's why,
we do what we do.
That's why we do what we do. But that's why I'm so happy that we're sort of nearing the tail end, knock on wood, of this pandemic, because last year, Halloween was ruined, unfortunately. A lot of things were, and I get it. It's a very base, superficial thing to be upset about because people lost their lives, of course. But it was a holiday where, unfortunately, it wasn't the same. So I'm hoping that this year it will be. And there's a trend, my friend. Usually a year that a Halloween movie releases in theaters, that is a really popular Halloween. And you get a lot of kids trick-or-treating. You get a lot of adults hanging out outside, and, you name it. So it's a lot of fun. And I don't even, drink or drug, and I still have a lot of fun hanging around other adults. So, they have
something to be said for that.
They get really, like half in the bag, and then they're on my same level of excitement that I just am normally for Halloween,
Bingo, baby. Oh yeah.
So yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to us. Like we said at the beginning, this didn't really have any set formula to it. We knew like 3 general things that we wanted to talk about. So I hope it was some fun. And if not, then don't worry.
That's a you problem.
We're not going to be talking about Halloween stuff next week. I might still have this stuff up though.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know. It's possible. It's going to be weird, but it's possible. And for anybody watching us that is young enough to go trick-or-treating, how did you get in to watch our video?
Right.
Did you lie about your age? I mean, I'm fine with it. Lucas is probably fine with it. But, don't let your parents know. And have fun trick-or-treating.
Yes, enjoy it. Enjoy Halloween, everybody.
Indeed. And if you're too old to go trick-or-treating, enjoy handing out candy. Enjoy horror movies.
Watch movies. That's what I'm going to be doing.
Whatever. Doesn't even have to be a horror movie, just a Halloween movie. I have to mention this.
Mention it.
The Halloween Town movies. I cannot believe I did not talk about this. They are cheesy as hell, but I love them.
There's something to be said for the cheese factor.
Yes. I don't like the 4th one, but the first 3, I just love it.
One of Brandon's favorite trilogies.
Every year. I watch them every year. And I'll never forget. I know we're like out of time, but I'll never forget in 1998, the first one came out, and I watched it with my friends, towards Halloween time. And I'll just never forget that. That was so much fun. So I always have that nostalgia packed in with that first movie.
Oh, for sure.
And it just puts me in a nice Halloween mood. And it's not a horror movie. It's just sort of fun. And it's good. So yeah, so watch some movies, eat some popcorn, hand out some candy, and just have a grand old time, okay? Because tomorrow is November 1st, and
and it'll be
it's not as fun.
More of the night he came home.
Exactly. If you guys get that reference, good on you.
You're cool in our books.
We have a James Bond pop vinyl for you.
Yes, indeed. All right, everybody. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Ooh. Oh, boo, boo. Okay, boo.
Boo.
And cut.